Go ahead.
A feminist is a woman that is fighting for her own rights and equality in her world.
Do you consider yourself a feminist? If not, if a feminist is simply a person who believes that men and women should be treated equally, would you define yourself as a feminist then?
Definitely.
Have you ever faced workplace discrimination as a woman?
Yes, especially when I became a women business enterprise contractor, and I have entered the world, or rather the arena of construction, where all the boys are playing the highest roles. So I had to learn to live with that and cooperate.
Do you know anyone who has been unfairly treated by America's current divorce laws and practices?
No.
Have you ever experienced or known someone who has faced violence as a woman?
I don't have a particular case in mind, but I know that that happens almost on a daily basis. That's part of women's life, that they constantly have to fight against the prejudice.
Have you or someone you know ever been pressured into sex when you didn't want to do it?
I know a lot of women who've been pressured into a sexual relationship with their bosses, and they were forced into it just to keep their jobs. Yeah, that happens very often.
Have you ever heard of that situation with a wife and husband?
I have not experienced that, but I know I have a lot of friends who tell me that they are more than often pressed into a sexual intercourse with their husbands, even though when they don't feel that they voluntarily want to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Did you learn about important women in school?
Yes.
Do you think that women in history were focused on enough in your courses?
Definitely not. Women have not been acknowledged and given an opportunity and expressed themselves to the fullest yet.
Well, you didn't have any schooling in America, did you? This was all in Serbia, right?
Yes.
Okay. You've given birth, obviously. So, what was that experience like for you? Did you do a natural birth at home, in a hospital? Were you pressured into any of their interventions?
Yeah, I've had two births, both in the hospital, and I was not pressured into what did we just call
Epidural.
Epidural. It was elective. I chose to do that.
Have
But it is a very, very spiritual, very mystical, very pleasing experience.
Okay.
Except for Yelena, when she came, it was very traumatic.
Oh, thanks, Mom. Have you heard about the cons, pros and cons? So the cons of having a child in a hospital because you can't have a completely natural birth. Have you actually heard about that being an issue for women?
No.
So do you think everybody in your generation just kind of went with the flow?
Yeah, I think definitely we all went with the flow.
Okay. Would you have liked any of your births to be different in any way?
No, I think I did what I needed to do, and it wasn't fine. So
Okay.
I'm pleased with what I did.
What do you think about how women are portrayed in advertising today?
I think that women are abused, severely abused, in being portrayed more as a sex object than as intellectual beings.
Do you feel the pressures of society or the media to look thin and young forever?
Absolutely.
Do you think it's fair to push unrealistic expectations on a woman's physique?
No, I don't think it's fair. I think it's a burden and stress, and it's pressure, and it's creating low self-esteem.
Do you think that men judge us and put these pressures on us, or women do it to each other?
I think it's a combination of all.
After being around for 62 years, what progress have you witnessed for women?
Well, I've definitely witnessed women fighting for her own voice, getting a chance, and finally being approved to vote, getting into colleges and getting education. Um, there, there is still need for equality in pay in jobs, but women have definitely accomplished a lot in educating themselves. And there is a lot more to be done. I'm sure it's forthcoming in the next couple generations. Women will be in a much greater position than today.
Do you think motherhood is being sacrificed with women being in the workforce and being like working moms?
I don't want to say that generally that's what happens, but on individual basis, and it depends on a individual. Yes, to some degree, some families are experiencing that.
Do you think it's worth it to have a satisfied mother that is satisfied as a complete human being and doesn't feel suppressed? Do you think it's worth it to sacrifice a little bit of the kids' like mother experience to have a happier wife and mother?
I think that compromising to some degree, we don't want to generalize it and make it like it's real compromise.
Right, but do you think the
Do I
compromise
think
is
that
worth it?
motherhood is compromised to a certain degree because of women?
Yeah, but do you think
pursuing
it's
more-
worth it
Definitely, yes.
to have women in the workforce?
Yes, definitely. It's worth it. It's healthier for a woman. It's healthier for her self-esteem, for her self-respect.
You were always like working when I was growing up, but I still felt like I had a mom. Do you think you would have been able to be a better mother if you didn't work, or do you think you would have been so miserable that you would have not actually ended up taking advantage of your free time with me?
I don't think you're a better mother because you don't work. You are a good mother because you commit yourself to be the best mother that you possibly can. Whether you have 2 hours a day or 10 hours a day, I think it is how you spend your time with children. So definitely I have tried to be the best mother that I can with the time that I had.
Thanks, man.